The dependent. At the far left of the bell curve, fewer than 1% of people score below 20. At this level, independent functioning is not possible. Language, if present at all, is extremely limited. The most basic self-care tasks, eating, dressing, toileting, require full-time support. Life expectancy can be affected by associated physical conditions. These individuals exist entirely within care environments, and the quality of that care determines almost everything about their quality of life. What science is clear about, these cases are virtually never caused by genetics alone. They are almost always the result of brain damage, from oxygen deprivation, severe infection, extreme malnutrition, chromosomal abnormalities, or injury. They represent the far outer edge of human variation, shaped primarily by what went wrong, not by the ordinary range of genetic difference. The sheltered. At this level, some language acquisition is possible. Simple phrases, recognition of familiar people, expression of basic needs and emotions. Extensive support is still required for daily living, but structured environments and consistent caregiving can enable meaningful engagement with the world. Familiarity, routine, and relationship matter enormously here. What's important to understand at this level and all levels of intellectual disability is that measured IQ does not tell you about someone's capacity for love, joy, loyalty, or emotional depth. These are human qualities that don't live on the cognitive spectrum. Some of the most profound human connections involve people who score very low on intelligence tests. The supported. IQ scores between 35 and 49 mark moderate intellectual disability. Here, communication becomes more functional. Reading and writing may be acquired at a basic level. Many individuals can perform routine tasks in supervised settings, participate meaningfully in community life, and develop genuine friendships and social bonds. With the right support, people at this level can live with significant independence, not total independence, but a real life in a real community with real relationships. The emphasis in modern support models is no longer on institutional care, but on supported living, because human dignity and inclusion matter regardless of IQ. The guided. Mild intellectual disability covers IQ scores between 50 and 69 and represents the largest group within intellectual disability. Roughly 85% of people with an intellectual disability fall here. At this level, most individuals attend school, often in mainstream classrooms with support. Reading and basic math can be learned. Many adults hold jobs, particularly in structured, familiar environments. Independent living is often possible with some ongoing support. Something important happens here that's worth noting. At this level, intellectual disability is often not identified in early childhood. Many children function fairly well through the early years of school, and the gap only becomes apparent as academic demands increase. The identification often comes as a surprise, both to families and to the individuals themselves. The overlooked. This band, IQ 70 to 84, is officially called borderline intellectual functioning, and it's one of the most underappreciated regions of the spectrum. People here are not classified as intellectually disabled, but they consistently struggle in academic environments, in jobs that require abstract reasoning or complex reading, and in systems, legal, bureaucratic, medical, that assume a baseline level of cognitive processing most people take for granted. This is actually a fairly large group. Roughly 14% of the population falls in this range, and they tend to receive very little targeted support because they don't qualify for disability services, but do consistently struggle in ways that aren't obvious. Researchers have noted that this group is significantly overrepresented in the criminal justice system, not because lower IQ causes crime, but because people with less cognitive capacity are less equipped to navigate complex social systems and are more vulnerable to exploitation. They are, in many ways, the invisible edge of the spectrum. The grounded. We've now crossed the midpoint. IQ 85 to 99 is considered low average, and it accounts for roughly a third of the entire population. People in this range are fully functional in everyday life. They hold jobs, raise families, navigate the world competently, and often very successfully. Where they may encounter friction is in work or education that demands high levels of abstract or theoretical reasoning. Certain academic fields, complex technical roles, highly competitive environments. But it's important to say clearly, success in life is not determined by IQ. The research on this is consistent. IQ correlates with academic performance, it correlates with certain job types, it correlates modestly with income, but it does not strongly predict happiness, relationship success, health behaviors, moral character, resilience, or fulfillment. Most of the world is run by people who score in this range. Most of the meals cooked, buildings built, children raised, elderly cared for. This is who does it. The backbone. 100. By definition, the middle. The score that half the population is above and half below. Average intelligence, the 100 to 109 band, is exactly where the bell curve peaks. It's the most populated zone on the entire spectrum, home to more people than any other range. And here's something worth sitting with. The entire edifice of modern civilization was built largely by people with average intelligence. The teachers, the farmers, the nurses, the truck drivers, the parents, the soldiers, the builders. Not geniuses, not prodigies. Ordinary minds working steadily across centuries. Average doesn't mean unremarkable. Average means human. The capable. Scores between 110 and 119 represent high average intelligence, the top 25% roughly. At this level, academic work generally comes without too much strain. Complex reading, multi-step problem solving, learning new systems quickly, these are within comfortable reach. Many professionals fall here: teachers, managers, skilled tradespeople, nurses, administrators. Interestingly, research suggests this range is close to an optimum for social effectiveness. People here are smart enough to understand complexity, but not so disconnected from average experience that communication becomes difficult. They're often described as the people who get it quickly without making others feel slow. The sharp. Superior intelligence, the 120 to 129 range, places someone in roughly the top 10% of the population. At this level, learning is fast, abstract reasoning is comfortable. Complex ideas can be held, manipulated, and connected in ways that feel natural. People here tend to gravitate toward intellectually demanding careers: law, medicine, academic research, engineering, technical design. There's also a documented phenomenon worth mentioning here. Research on very high scores suggests that above a certain threshold, somewhere in this range, raw cognitive ability begins to matter less for professional outcomes than personality traits like conscientiousness, curiosity, and emotional regulation. The brilliant but chaotic mind is a real type. IQ gets you to the door. What you do there is a different kind of question. The gifted. IQ 130 is the threshold most commonly used to define giftedness, and it marks entry into the top 2% of the population. At this level, the experience of intelligence begins to shift in qualitative ways. Learning is often faster than the standard curriculum can accommodate. Boredom in conventional educational settings is common, not from laziness, but from the pace simply being too slow. Many gifted children spend their formative years either understimulated or quietly masking their abilities to fit in socially. This is also where Mensa begins. The high IQ society requires members to score at or above the 98th percentile, which corresponds roughly to IQ 130 on most tests. Gifted individuals in this range tend to display not just faster thinking, but different thinking, more ability to see patterns, make connections across disparate fields, and identify the exception to the rule. They're often the people in the room who noticed what everyone else missed. But here's a counterintuitive finding. Studies show that beyond IQ 120, raw cognitive ability correlates very weakly with life satisfaction, income, or interpersonal success. Being significantly smarter than average can create its own kind of social friction, a persistent sense of thinking differently from most people around you, which can be isolating. The rare. At 145, we're well into the top 1%. The air is thin here. Fewer than 1 in 100 people score this high. The word genius is thrown around casually in popular culture, but psychology has largely abandoned it as a formal category. There's no official line where genius begins. What the research does show is that at this level of cognitive ability, combined with the right domain, the right environment, and the right drive, genuinely original contributions to human knowledge become possible. This is the range where major scientific discoveries, foundational mathematical proofs, and landmark artistic and literary works tend to originate, not always and not automatically. Many people in this range contribute nothing remarkable, either by circumstance or by choice, and many transformative human achievements have come from people with more modest IQ scores, who simply worked harder and longer than anyone else. Intelligence is a condition, it's not an achievement. The outlier. Above IQ 160, standard tests begin to lose their reliability. The questions simply don't discriminate well enough at these extremes, like trying to weigh a feather on a scale designed for boulders. This is territory where special high-range tests are required, and even then, the results carry wide margins of error. Scores at this level are estimated for historical figures through examination of their work, correspondence, and documented mental feats, not actual test results. The names most commonly associated with this range, Newton, Einstein, Da Vinci, Leibniz, Goethe, were not just intelligent, they were people in whom extraordinary raw ability intersected with consuming passion, radical curiosity, and the historical luck of being born into a moment that needed exactly what they could offer. Exceptional intelligence at this level is genuinely rare enough that the individuals who possess it often struggle to find intellectual peers. Some describe the experience not as advantage, but a kind of permanent foreignness, a mind operating at a frequency most people can't quite tune into.